You know, a rule of thumb for any pastor who spends time recommending reading to people is that you're doing well if you're recommending books that are short. This very quick read by Steve Harper is called Holy Love. I really appreciate this book. Steve Harper, a former professor at an evangelical Christian seminary, a longtime United Methodist, raises the questions that make sense for our sisters and brothers who are in the LGBTQ community and all the rest of the family of God that might not be LGBTQ, but also want to understand how to read our Bibles so that we don't get derailed by some distractions that some people get really wild into. One of the lines in the book, he'll say, with covenant love understood, we are in a position to explore specific scriptural passages. His point is that if we don't understand the Bible as a story of God's covenant love for us, we always misunderstand large swaths of its text. You know, the Jewish and the Hebrew Christians, the Hebrew scriptures and the early Christians all spoke of the same covenant love. The covenant is the main story of Genesis through the whole narrative section of the Hebrew scriptures. The early Christians talked about their writings as New Covenant. That was the book, that was the name they gave their book. So when Harper does that, when he establishes how to read that, then he looks at individual passages that sometimes are misunderstood in wild ways for people to find ways to judge and not welcome each other. I really appreciate Steve Harper. Another thing I like about this book is a line where, as he's finishing, he writes to Christians who were non-affirming, not welcoming to people who are LGBT or Q. And he says, and finally, it's important for you to know that I still long for a day when we can talk with each other about all this, not just talk about each other. And really, if you've got friends in your associations that hold to maybe fundamentalist views or just loveless views of matters relating to people who are LGBT or Q, or people who get lost in some of the distracting verses that will sometimes throw somebody off one way or another, this Bible scholar is a good one to read. Steve Harper, Holy Love, and it's short. You are love first.